Guys, welcome back to Project RSX. We're on episode 9. And in the last episode, my engine light came on and I needed to change my front axles. Ryan right here, you see Ryan? Yes, so he helped me out. He had a lift in his garage. We got the job done. And that was a good episode. Check that out if you haven't. In today's episode, I wanted to upgrade the shifting on the RSX, and hybrid racing has a lot of parts for, you know, the K-series motors and transmissions. So I went and bought some hybrid racing selector bushings as well as some base bushings. They came as a combo. The selector bushings are going to be installed here. I'm going to take out the old ones. The base bushings are going to be installed on the actual shifter on the base. It's going to make it more firm. I also purchased some springs. These springs are going to help a lot with how stiff the shifter is going to feel after. So the ones on the right, those are called selector springs, and they go in the actual assembly. You're going to take it apart and replace the springs there. And the ones on the left, the smaller springs, are called the detent springs. There's going to be 3 of these in the transmission. You guys are going to see at the end how my car shifts, so just stay tuned for that. To start this job, we're going to replace the selector bushings and the selector springs. So I can see the shifter cables here. At the end of the shifter cables, that's where the bushings are. So I take out the intake so I can have more space to work with. I use a flathead screwdriver here to pry up these clips, and everything here is rusty because I live in Canada and everything just rusts very fast. But anyways, we're going to try to be careful here. So after removing that rusty pin, this whole cable should have came off with the bushing, but the bushing didn't even want to come off. It was so stuck on there that I had to figure out another way to take it off. So what I have to do is I have to use pliers, squeeze the shit out of this, and just try to do everything I can to move this, wiggle it, jiggle it out, and then it comes off just like this. But the problem is the middle of the actual bushing is still stuck on here. So what I do later is I just end up using pliers and take, you see that brass part right there? Yeah, that I'm pointing at. I use pliers and rip that out after. So there's going to be 2 cables. It's the same thing for both. However, I took the first one out. It's the same concept. You take the pin out, but I cleaned the inside of them with sandpaper because the new bushings will go in here. And here is the comparison. We got the old rubber bushings that I already took out. This is what the car comes with, you know, originally. But rubber, as you know, it can swell, it can crack, can just wear out a lot faster than these ones. These ones are made of metal and they're going to be a lot more sturdy. It's going to be in there for a while and I won't have to worry about it. I'm not paying a whole lot for the parts that I ordered. You guys will see at the end how my shifter shifts. So before I put the bushings in here, since we're here already, I'm also changing the selector springs. So that's this right here. This piece has to come out. Inside of here there's 2 springs that we're going to change. So to do that, you see these bolts, one here, one there, one there, and this one there. Okay, so but for that, you see this connector. Take that out. There's also going to be 1 Allen bolt in front of the transmission. It's going to be on there kind of tight. So, and make sure you don't strip it. All right, it's hard to get a good angle, so just make sure you don't strip this. And you can see here, when I take this out, there's going to be silicone on the threads because this will help prevent leaks since the transmission has fluid in it. So remember all the parts that have silicone. You want to put new silicone on before you install them. Then I just slightly pry this up. And remember, if you don't remove that front bolt, that Allen key bolt, this is not going to come out. Yes. Now we have successfully taken out the selector assembly. It's the same as the part I showed you in the beginning of the video. And then there's going to be a nice gaping hole in your transmission. Cover this with a rag. And this is going to be very, very important. You see the dowels top left and bottom right, there's dowels here. When you put the assembly back in, there's going to be 2 longer bolts. Make sure the longer bolts go in the same spot as these dowels. You guys can't really see it too well, but there's a little bit of silicone on this because you don't want fluid coming out of here as well. Moving forward, there's going to be a bolt here. Remove it. Once you remove this bolt, you see that? Did you guys see that? This washer just wanted to get out of here, you know, it just wanted to run. I knew there was going to be a washer there. That's why I was very careful with this. See this washer? We're going to put it back on the bolt. you want to do that. So I take this assembly apart. It's all going to want to come apart. It's not a joined assembly. It's all individual parts that are just stacked on top of each other. So keep this how it is. Don't be messing with this too much. So one of the springs already came out, that big one you see there. So we take the other small one out, and then it has a washer. So remember how this went, okay? Remember how it went together. But anyways, this is the selector springs that we are upgrading. I'm gonna show a comparison. Here's the springs that came out, and here's the hybrid racing one. Here's the one that came out, and here's the hybrid racing one. So this should give me a more stiff and firm feel when I'm shifting. So let's put this together. Washer first with the spring, and then I put the big spring on top of this little cap, and the whole assembly. Be careful with this, you don't want it to come apart. Put it in there nice and slow and shove it in. You want to align the hole so that you can put the bolt in it. Once this catches a few threads, you can then continue and tighten it. At this point, the hybrid racing selector springs have been successfully installed. We need to put some silicone on this before I shove it back in. So I'm going to run a bead across the whole thing here. And I've always learned to use this trick. It's going to help anytime you put silicone on. You just want to spread it, because you might miss spots. You know, you want everything to be nice and smooth, but you don't want to wipe the silicone off. You're just spreading it and making sure it's even and a consistent layer of silicone across this. So now we're just gonna slap this thing in, and it should pop into place. There it's in. Start the bolts by hand first, and remember where the longer bolts went. And then next I perfectly install the Allen key bolt. Let's try that again. But remember, we're putting silicone on this as well. I put it on the threads, and then we tighten this nice and slowly, making sure we don't drop this. So now that's installed properly, we're gonna put the hybrid racing bushings in, and the text on this is gonna be facing up where it says hybrid racing. And the ring they give you guys, the clip, it's actually like a spring. So you work it from one side and then you just push it in. Now that that's in, again, make sure that the hybrid racing text is facing upwards. This is how it should look. And we're gonna put this clip in to secure it. And now we're gonna install the smaller bushing that goes on the other cable. This one was very, very tight, like it was snug fitted in there. I even cleaned the inside of this out, but you see I'm using pliers here, and I push it through to the other side. It's in there nice. I mean, I don't know how that's gonna come out if it ever needs to, but I'm hoping I never have to take it out.
Yeah, that's it.
At this point in the video, everything's lovely. I'm excited. You know, I got my springs in for the selector. I got my bushings in for the selector. You know, everything's looking nice except for one thing. And had I caught this early on, I probably would have saved a lot of money. But if you guys see this arm here on the selector, it's not in its proper place. And that, you'll see what happens. Just watch. I couldn't get this into other gears, and this is what happened. I ripped my cable.
Oh, that's hot.
My shifter cable ripped. I even put the arm back into its proper spot, but because of my cable ripping, this thing was just popping out of place. I even tried JB weld it together. It didn't work, obviously. So guys, don't make the same mistake that I did, because it's gonna put you in the same position that I was in. I need to get a cable to put in my vehicle now, when I was just simply trying to change the bushings and springs. All these aftermarket ones I've seen, you know, they're going for $300, $400, and some people had bad reviews on them. I'm like, you know what, maybe I don't want to chance it here. Let me just call some parts companies and see what they say. None of them could get me the original equipment shifter cables, and they say go and call the dealer. And I'm like, great, I already know what the dealer is gonna do. They're gonna overcharge me, of course, but I call them anyways. This is my vehicle, 2002 RSX Type S. My VIN number, can you guys get me some shifter cables? He's like, yeah, no problem. We'll get it to you the next day. Great. They're like $460 plus tax. And I hung up the phone. As an alternative, I ended up purchasing these used 2006 RSX Type S shifter cables for a whole lot cheaper, only $140. Got it shipped the next day, and I installed them too. It's a little bit of work and kind of a pain to do it at home in the cold, but we got them in, and now we're back on track. So now we can see what's going on inside.
It's cold right now, guys. Very cold. And all I gotta do now from the inside, I just gotta hook up these cables here. Since I'm already here, before I put the cables in, I'm gonna take these 4 bolts out right here. You guys see that right there? 1, 2, 3, 4. These 4 bolts I'm gonna take out so I can put these new bushings in along with the hardware. So this is how it looks right now.
And boom, new base bushings installed just like that. So now we can continue with putting everything back together. At this point, we just have one last upgrade to make and we're done the job. So it's the detent springs that we gotta change, and in order to change that, remember the 3 bolts that I said on the side of the transmission? Well, the transmission mount is right above that.
I took out that bolt, I took out this one, I took out the one here, I took out this one, I took out this one, and I took out that one. And now this comes up.
And mind you guys, I did support the transmission by using a jack with a piece of wood and just jacked it up a little bit from underneath.
Now you have these 3 bolts. Behind these 3 bolts right here are gonna be springs, and those are the springs that we're changing.
So removing these bolts, I realized that there are washers with them, so just remember that when you are putting them back in, they have the washers. And here are the springs. These are the old detent springs that come with the vehicle, and here is the comparison against the hybrid racing springs. The hybrid racing detent springs are a bit longer, so they will give me a bit more tension after I tighten the bolts onto these springs compared to the old ones. And make sure the balls are in each of these holes. They're little metal balls, and then the spring goes on it, and then remember the washer on the bolt. And now we're just gonna put everything back together.
It's good. Snug right there, and just go a little bit of a turn. A little bit of a turn. That's it. Okay. Everything's in, mounts in, everything except for the battery, but I don't need that to test out the shifter, so let's try this out. This was the old shift knob that was on it. My transmission is not a 5-speed, so let's not be disrespectful here. I end up getting this Migo Racing weighted shift knob. See the 6 speeds? It's exactly the same pattern as my shifter, reverse all the way to the right and down. I got this from a friend of mine that changes outer tie rod. This one is pretty heavy. It's a lot heavier than the old one. This one just feels cheap, and this weighted one should make it feel a lot better. I like the, you know, the heavy feel, like it's pushing down, and then once I'm putting it in gear, it should be a lot nicer. So it doesn't screw in properly as in like for the orientation, but I don't really care about that. But let's try this out now. Oh yeah, see, the left and right is a lot more stiffer, and it's not like crazy, but I like it. Let's put it in gear. Oh yeah, this play, you see this play in the middle? That's all right. That's the bushings in here, which I didn't replace. I only replaced the base bushings, but this play I don't really care about. That's not a serious issue. The side to side, a lot more stiffer, and hitting these gears just feels nice. It's like directly into like where it needs to go. It just like the best way to describe this upgrade is just it makes it easier for your shifter to find where it needs to go, the left and right, a bit more stiffness there, and then putting it in gear, it just goes in where it needs to go, you know? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and reverse. We gotta see how this thing drives, you know, how we shift on the road. That's what matters the most. So let's check this out right now. Time to test drive. Let's get it. Oh yeah. Yeah, I need gas. Where am I going? Petro Canada. Let's get it. First shift. Oh yeah. Oh my. Oh, that's so nice. It's like, bro, it's perfect. I'm sure it can be better, but from what it was before, it's nice. Just drive with this, the shift feel. It's crisp. Crispy. Yes, I like very much. I like. So if you have an RSX, upgrade the bushings, the springs. It's worth it. It is 130, 50 million% worth it. This is such a big difference, guys.
Well, there you go, guys. We're at the end of the video, and I just want to say that I'm very, very proud to have hit this milestone of 10,000 subs that we just passed. That's Zilla Squad standing at a healthy 10K right now, and I couldn't have done it without the support of all the people that watch, all the people that talk about my videos, that show people my channel, that recommend it to people, or even leave comments. You guys don't realize that when you leave a comment, it actually does help my videos. So please do keep bringing that energy over here, because it is helping grow the page, the channel, and I just want to make a channel that is going to benefit others as well as make something entertaining. You know, like, I just want to show you guys what I'm doing, but just make it so that you guys are entertained to see me work on this vehicle and see where it's going, because it's gonna be a long journey, but you guys are making it that much better, and it's crazy, you know, the amount that we're growing at this point. The new year is almost coming as well, so I'm excited for that. 2022 is gonna be huge. But again, I just wanted to take this time and just say thank you, a big thank you. Zilla Squad, we're gonna keep growing. If you guys aren't a part of it yet, don't hesitate, be a part of this squad, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.